Okay, so on YouTube, Gian Marco Zacharias asked, I'll be coming to New Zealand this July. I know it's winter time. Any suggestions? I'm from a tropical country, by the way.
That sounds nice. I want to be from a tropical country.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'll go to where he's living.
What's his name? Gian Marco. Gian, can you tell us what tropical country you're from already? I want to know that. Anyway, your question. So you're going to come to New Zealand in winter and you're not used to the cold. Okay, so there are some people, like, people from Canada, they are definitely used to the cold. And there are some people which are definitely not used to the cold. So the cold in New Zealand is going to very much have a different meaning to that, because I did live in Vancouver, for example, and I can tell you the cold here in New Zealand, even Vancouver is not necessarily a cold place in Canada, but the cold in New Zealand was not as bad as there. So you have to keep that in mind already. Cold is very relative to where you're from. Now for the weather in New Zealand, in winter, because July is going to be like winter, don't picture New Zealand to be entirely under the snow, right? It's usually on the mountainous areas that you're going to have snow. In New Zealand, it's mostly rain during winter. So you've got to know that. Even if you stay in places like, let's say, Queenstown, which is kind of like this ski resort, everybody kind of picture that and this and that. Very often you've got snows on the mountain and on the ski field, and you get great snow over there, but it's not that much snow in Queenstown itself. You have a few days where it's going to be snowing, so you can take your Instagram shots, but that's pretty much it. Most of the time it's going to be rain. And for this reason, you've got to keep in mind that you need to pack for the weather. Now, New Zealand weather is extremely changeable. We say all the time, 4 seasons in one day. But one thing which is sure, if you arrive in New Zealand in July, you will experience some rain. So you need a really good rain jacket. Now, you don't need this really thick rain jacket that you need for snowboarding, because we prefer traveling with layers. So I will advise you to have like 3 or 4 different like merino wool or wool layers, which is going to keep you really warm, and then you put the rain jacket on top of it. Like that, depending on the weather, you can take off those layers and you're not going to be too hot. If you have this really thick rain jacket, then, well, you're just going to be cooking, even if it's just light rain. So that's a bit annoying. So I will have a good but light rain jacket and then some some wool layers, right? That's definitely what you want to pack. Now, keep on going with some packing tips. You want some waterproof shoes. That's so important to have some waterproof shoes. Well, because again, it rains a lot. So if you buy some hiking shoes, make sure that they are waterproof, Gore-Tex, whatever, like Tech-Tex or WaterTech. They all have a different name for different brands, but you want that technology, that's for sure, because there is nothing worse than hiking with wet feet. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. So keep that in mind. Also, well, you may want to invest in a couple of woolen socks, because if your socks getting a little bit wet, you're not going to be too cold. But if you have cotton socks, you're losing your toes. You're not losing your toes, but it's really cold. So that's to keep in mind for the weather. Now, you can escape the weather though if you head to Northland.
Yeah, so in Northland, that's sort of described as the winterless north in New Zealand, because it's sort of a subtropical climate in the very north region of the North Island, and it never feels really way too cold up there. Yes, the rainfall probably, I think it does increase during winter, so it will still be rainy, but if you really can't stand the cold, then the best place to go is Northland, because there's a lot of sunny days that come along with it, and often it just really doesn't feel like winter. It just feels comfortable is probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
But if you do want that to actually experience that real winter feeling, which I think if you're from a tropical country that you would be interested to see what that's like, then I think you should head down to the South Island, bearing in mind that that's further away from the equator, so it's colder, and in the middle of the country, well, in the middle of the island, sorry, is the Southern Alps, where you'll get to see all the snowy mountains, and I'm pretty sure that if you're from a tropical country, that would be really awesome to see.
Yeah, that's some pretty cool views. That's when you have the lakes and you have all those snowy peaks and everything. So I would definitely consider that. But you just have to get yourself a little bit prepared. If you can find those kind of gears that we're talking about, by the way, when packing, you can find them in Auckland. When you arrive in New Zealand, just grab a little bit more money and buy them when you arrive in New Zealand, because as like in New Zealand, we sell the weather clothes that we need for New Zealand. So
yeah, exactly.
you'll be able to find that. And we have plenty of tips on which are the best outlets to go buy those things, which are the best shops. So it's all on backpackerguide.nz, and we'll put the link in the description below. But we're not done just yet. What about traveling in the winter in New Zealand?
So July is actually a really good time to travel New Zealand because it's considered the low season for tourists, meaning that there's less tourists in the country. So you don't have to really worry about things being fully booked or anything being like really expensive. Everything that's going to be priced is going to be at its lowest price during winter. That includes car rentals are going to be so much cheaper than in summer.
So much cheaper.
That's like the biggest price difference. But yeah, there'll be a few activities and accommodation that do some winter specials. So yeah, you'll be able to save some money in comparison to traveling in summer. And often when you are exploring New Zealand, if you're on any hikes and things, you'll feel like you have the whole place to yourself because there are far less people traveling at this time of year. And personally, I feel like this is like the best time to travel around New Zealand. Yeah, the weather might not be as perfect and as sunny as it may be in summer, which to be honest, in summer it's not perfect either. But you know, if you have all the right equipment, you know, you have your rain jacket ready, you have your different layers to warm up if you need to, your waterproof shoes, as Robin said, then you are going to be just fine and you're going to have an absolute blast. So I think that's everything covered for this question about what New Zealand is like in July. If you guys have any more questions that we can cover really quickly before we wrap up this video for today, make sure you put them in the live chat and we will get to them as soon as possible.